Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
All right, before we get to Ed Morrissey, your friend Fred is on the line.
Oh, Fred? He owes me pork burgers.
He owes John Anthony pork burgers. All right, let's quickly. Hi, Fred from Yorkville. How are you?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, John, I'll get you those pork burgers.
Yeah, you've been saying that for 5 years now, but that's okay.
Well, to your point, you mentioned the buy-in votes and the illegal immigrants coming in. And it's kind of a conglomeration of a statement here, but I agree with you 100%. I mean, the mayor came up with $90 million and just extra COVID money that was laying around to put into the migrant side of things. Why are they not? I mean, where was this money to be put into the South Side?
Right.
Let people live in their communities. I mean, you don't see them going through Chinatown and relocating and building a football field.
Oh.
The only reason they want that football field is to generate the tax dollars out of it. They don't want it to go to Arlington. And, the city's just a dumpster fire. The more money you keep throwing at a dumpster fire, the more it just keeps burning.
Oh, yes. And we have a 5-alarm fire here.
Well, two stadiums.
Thanks, Fred, for your
Fred.
phone call.
White Sox and Bears, 2 stadiums.
Yeah, they want both.
Yeah.
And
Just
guess what?
Make one
They're not going to get both.
and share.
How are the White Sox doing this year, by the way?
Oh,
Gwen?
yeah.
Dan Proft? Anybody?
I don't follow Little League team, so I don't know.
Oh, you don't follow Wee baseball?
Yeah, I don't follow Little League teams. I just follow professional MLB.
All right, well, we have a Democratic disaster and disarray on our hands. Of course, yesterday there was a private meeting with House delegates and Hakeem Jeffries walked out the back door to escape reporters. But you know who didn't? Walked out proud and loud? James Clyburn. Oh, yeah. And he's got a new slogan.
We bad.
What was there more people saying Biden should step down or more people saying he should stay?
We're riding with Biden. We're riding with Biden.
Did anyone mention Harris?
We are riding with Biden.
Was there conversation about Vice President?
We are riding with Biden.
Was there conversation about Vice President Kamala Harris in there?
We are riding with Biden.
Got it?
Hey, you remember
Riding with Biden.
You remember that movie with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder? We bad. Yeah. Sure enough. You remember when they went to jail?
Yeah.
And they had to.
And they,
they're
we
like,
bad. Yeah,
we
that was
bad.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
it
that
was
remind me of?
reminiscent of that. With more on what's going on and will he or won't he? Because I think we're going to be playing this cat and mouse game for the next 120 days. Let's welcome back to the program Ed Morrissey, senior editor for HotAir.com. Good morning, Ed. How are you?
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
So earlier this week, you wrote an article about President Biden considering dropping out of the 2024 election if the next few campaign events do not go well. Do you still feel that way?
No. I think he's staying in. And honestly, I've always been a little skeptical that he would ever agree to leave. He's been in Washington for 50 years. He's at the pinnacle. And I think he is, my opinion of Joe Biden really hasn't changed over the last 40 years. He thinks he's a legend in his own mind. He's the smartest guy he knows, and he thinks that everybody else is intellectually beneath him. And I am sure that he still feels that way, and still thinks that he can BS his way through whatever damage that he does to himself. And he's managed to do that over the course of his political career, and I think he's just decided that I'm just going to roll the dice.
Yeah, but the radio interviews that he gave, even after that horrific debate, first to George Stephanopoulos, then he went on Black Radio, and even Jake Tapper now is on to him, and he just roasted him the other day, and he pointed out that Biden, in one of these interviews, called himself the first black woman VP.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman, served with a black president. I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America.
So he clearly, the cleanup is not as bad, or is it worse than the crime? Don't you agree?
Well, the cover-up is worse than the crime, and that's the problem that Democrats have right now. It'd be the most convenient thing for the Democrats, would be for him to step off the stage so they don't have to keep answering to the American public about the fraud that they've perpetrated on them for the last 4+ years. And certainly for the last 2+ years. I mean, that April 2022 clip of the Easter Bunny blocking Biden from talking to reporters, you had a whole bunch of reporters that sat there and watched that and never bothered to follow up as to why the Easter Bunny was blocking Joe Biden, bodily blocking, waving arms, I guess, or paws. Like, if you're the Easter Bunny, I guess they're paws, to keep him from talking to reporters when he clearly wanted to. I mean, the Easter Bunny was ordering the President of the United States around on the White House lawn, and it doesn't get much worse than that, and yet it took more than 2 years for the people in the media to actually start digging into this. I mean, it's a fraud, and it has been going on for 4 years, and the media has been part of it all along the way.
Yeah, but now they're upset because they got cut out of his health problems. I mean, that was a big thing the other day with KJP because they weren't in on it, and they were supposed to be part of it. When, how many times has the neurologist been to the White House? 8 times in 8 months, and they only know that because of the visitor's log.
Right. Yeah, and they're trying to say, well, they were there because of legislation. Well, I don't know which reporters managed to pass their American civics class, but the White House doesn't write legislation. The Congress writes legislation. And maybe he got there once to confer with the president on what Congress was doing, but the neurologist didn't need to be there 8 times in 8 months to talk about what what they might legislate in terms of neurological care. I mean, that doesn't even hold water, and yet the press is swallowing that too. Nobody's actually raised that point. So why would he go to the White House? Why not go to Chuck Schumer's office?
Right.
Well, Ed, I'll tell you, I agree with you. The only way I see Biden coming out is if they invoke the 25th Amendment or something happens to him while he's running for office. Other than that, I don't see that because the bigger problem is you, as I stated earlier, you skip over Kamala. You have now just given black people a reason to not vote for you. And I think that's a bigger problem than him, staying in the race. What do you say?
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. And that's been I've been writing about the Kamala conundrum for several months now. Is that there's no way to bypass her, because of the way they set it up, and so she would have to be the alternate. And if they did do the 25th Amendment, she would be the incumbent at that point.
Yep.
They're not going to do a 25th Amendment, though. I mean, the one interesting factoid about that is you can do the 25th Amendment and remove him from office, but it would be over his objections, and it doesn't disqualify him from running.
Yeah.
So
right.
He would still technically be the nominee and run for president, even if they took him out via the 25th Amendment.
Well, do you think there's going to be a brokered convention? I mean, and what is this virtual vote that they're going to be taking before the DNC? Then why even have it?
Well, the virtual vote is because they scheduled the DNC poorly, right? The DNC scheduled it after a few of the state deadlines for ballots, so they have to do the virtual vote ahead of time in order to do that. And so the convention.
To get them on the ballot in Ohio. That's right.
Yeah, Ohio, and I think there may be another couple of states too where it's a potential issue. And so, I mean, the conventions are usually just shows anyway, right? I mean, it's just usually a 4-day party, and that's normal for these conventions. But yes, I don't think that they're going to unlock the delegates. Biden's people are probably mostly in control of the DNC anyway. But doing that basically would negate all of their primaries, and the primary voters are going to have a fit if that happens. And the unions are running behind Biden now too. They came out. Big Labor came out yesterday and said, no, we're doubling down on Biden. So. Yeah, good luck with that in Chicago. Fight the unions in Chicago. That'd be real fun. I'd like to cover that one.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one. So what is the First Lady Jill Biden's role in all of this? And I wanted to play this because right after the debate, they had their little group on a stage nearby, and Jill was up there, and she was so condescending to the president. Now, I know that's also her husband, but just take a listen.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
I mean, I think she's so power hungry. And nobody's reporting this, but on Monday, she campaigned in 3 different swing states.
Wow.
So do you think she's the force driving this? Because if I had a loved one who showed signs of dementia or just Parkinson's, anything, I'm not a neurologist, but I would take them straight to a neurologist and have their health be the number one priority.
I'm glad you mentioned this, Amy, because what we saw, what everybody saw, what was undeniable is that Joe Biden is a sick man, right? There is something wrong with Joe Biden. And his family has to have seen this, right? And for them to put him on, to allow him to go on stage, not just allow him to go on stage, but to facilitate it and then to endorse it and then to push harder for it afterwards is just despicable. It's absolutely despicable. And this is a man who, you are correct, who desperately needs some health assessments to find out what his issues are and how best to deal with them. And instead, they're sending the Easter Bunny out to tell Joe Biden what to do.
I mean, if he has Parkinson's, there is medicine. There's not a cure, but there is medicine that could stop, help slow the degeneration process.
I'm sure he's taking them.
You think so?
That's why the guy was in there 9 times, right?
8 times in 8 months.
Yeah.
Do you really think they're?
I guarantee they're servicing him.
Well, with Trump, we had his doctor. Remember, he showed up
Ronnie
at one of the
Jackson?
press conferences.
Yeah, Ronnie.
And said he's in great health, and we want to cut down and lose some lbs. And so he took the top bun off the burger and ate the burger and lost some weight that way.
Put it in lettuce.
Yeah. But, I mean, we're not getting any transparency when it comes to President Biden.
No. And clearly there is something wrong. And that's what the debate really was valuable for, because it just exposed the whole thing. It exposed the fact that the media hasn't asked questions about it. The media has played along with Democrats. They played along with the Biden family. And what happened immediately after the debate? The Biden family went to Camp David to determine how they were going to move forward. And then Hunter Biden starts showing up in policy discussions at the White House.
All right, you just stole my thunder, Ed. You just stole my thunder, because I was going to say Hunter's another person who doesn't want the Biden.
Oh no, because he could go to jail. They need him.
They get the House and they maintain the House. They get the Senate. I really believe you're going to start seeing some stuff come out about this Hunter Biden investigation. That's not the gun charge, and I think that's detrimental to the Biden family.
Such
and
as?
let's not forget that the Biden Incorporated family business is based on Joe Biden's ties to power.
Correct.
It's the only thing they've got. They don't sell any products. They don't sell any services. It's a influence peddling operation. And the moment that Joe Biden doesn't have any power anymore, the whole business model collapses. Yep. And Hunter Biden is in there trying to keep the family business going. That's what that's about.
You mean his blow art isn't cooking right now?
Blow? You said blow? Somebody said blow?
Remember, I mean, you could buy a painting for Hunter Biden for what, 50,000? Oh, yeah,
I thought it was $500,000. Somebody bought one for $500,000
too. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
It was 500,000. Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me? I could do that drawing.
Blow? Somebody said blow?
Well, stop it. It's blow art. Okay, so his trial, the sentencing date has been pushed back to, September 18th. The second debate is September 10th. Do you think that was a coordinated plan there?
No, I mean, I basically figured that was probably the first open date that Merchan had on his schedule. I mean, New York judges are just busy that way, but I don't think that second debate's going to take place either.
Yeah.
They're not going to put Joe Biden out there again. The donors would absolutely freak out about that, and I think House and Senate Democrats would insist that he not do that if he's going to stay in the race.
Well, what are they going to say? He has COVID again? He can't go?
No, they'll come up with they'll come up with the excuse that they should have used the first time, which was that the President of the United States should not have to share a stage with a convicted felon. I mean, they actually had that line set up, and Joe Biden went through with it anyway because he was slipping in the polls, and thought that he could throw the Hail Mary pass and win the big game. And man alive, that guy is even if he's not sick, he is self-delusional. He always has been too. I mean, I have a favorite description of Joe Biden that I'll try to clean up here. He's 20 pounds of manure in a 10-pound bag, and he's always been that way. Even when he was young, he was that way. But it's even worse now.
Yeah, and he lies. I mean, he said he's an 18-wheeler truck driver. What? A civil rights icon involved. I mean, everything he says is a lie.
Trying to see Nelson Mandela in South Africa.
And what else?
I mean,
it was a professor at UPenn or something, and number one in his class. When did he finish? Bottom of his class?
Yeah, bottom of his
higher IQ than anybody else in the room. You mean, you go back to the 1987 presidential campaign, and it wasn't just the plagiarism that torpedoed him. It was his big mouth and his propensity for telling lies.
All right, so what are you working on today for hotair.com?
Well, I'm taking a look at this Axios report about how Trump is modulating the GOP's platform, some of the messaging. I think he sees a real opportunity here to depart from the base turnout strategy and really try to reach out to disaffected voters. And I think that could be transformative. It'd be at least a really nice change of pace from what we've seen from American politics over the last generation or so. And I think that there's a lot of promise in doing that. Also taking a look at Nancy Pelosi's decidedly endorsement of Joe Biden on Morning Joe this morning was pretty bad.
Oh, what happened? Tell us.
So she's on Morning Joe, and they're asking her, Joe Biden has decided to stay in the race. Are you going to endorse him? And she says, well, Joe Biden should be allowed to make the decision as to whether or not he wants to remain the head of the party and on the ticket, and I will wait for Joe Biden to make that decision. And they said,
wow.
Well, he's already made that decision. and she continued saying the exact same thing. So it's clear that she endorses his decision as soon as he makes the decision that she can endorse. Is basically what the message is.
Sounds like Kamala.
Kamala.
Really, word salad. Word salad with a purpose.
How do we unburden the unburdened? All right, Ed Morrissey, we're going to have to leave it there for today. Thank you as always. He's senior editor for hotair.com, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM